A Red Pill Philosophy viewer, he's 15 years old and he's currently in school and he's considering whether or not schooling is the right path for him. Modern schooling, getting your degree, then getting your diploma, getting your degree in college, and then submitting that to a business to get a job. He's considering whether or not that's essential to his success. And I'm going to cater this message to parents who might have children who are in a similar position, and hopefully as a parent you can kind of see where I'm coming from and where more and more people are coming from as they realize and awaken from this old schooling paradigm and realize there's a whole other way to do things that is normal and it's the future, as many experts have cited. I'm going to try and cater this to parents so maybe parents can see where I'm coming from. So, you know, the primary reason most parents put their kids in school is because they believe that it's good for their children. You've been told your entire life that go to school because if you go to school you get a diploma, if you get a diploma you go to college, you go to college you get a degree, and with a degree corporations will accept you and you'll get a job. The problem is that model is beginning to crumble, and there are many symptoms of it. Number one, educational systems around the world are deteriorating. The United States isn't the only one. Now I hear things in New Zealand are pretty good when it comes to test scores, but test scores are test scores. One of the things as a parent you have to realize is that so much of what we do in school is arbitrary. Now mind you, this is all about what's good for our children. Okay, as a parent I would assume the reason you put your kids in school is because you want the best for them. And the best meaning they'll get a job in the future. They'll actually have some relevance in the marketplace. The problem is that school is becoming more and more irrelevant because one of the most important things is that no one ever really uses so much of what they learn in school. I mean, yeah, the fundamentals, the basic reading, the basic math, the stuff that's actually useful in life for the average person is what ultimately gets used by that person. I don't remember Pythagoras' theorem. You know, that lesson from geometry class. I don't remember that because it was never useful. And there are probably countless subjects and countless things you memorized over and over again. Even if in the back of your mind you ask the question, why do I gotta learn this stuff? Well, you were always told, well, because you have to, because if not you won't get a job. So that was always the rationalization that we today give to our children, and that's what our parents gave to us when we were children, and so on and so forth. Get good grades because you'll get a job. The problem is that the economy is changing. Now, there's a famous author. He's called a thought leader, basically. And basically his name is Seth Godin. Best-selling author. He writes books for young and aspiring entrepreneurs. You don't have to be young in terms of age, but anyone who's aspiring as an entrepreneur, somebody who wants to go out there and be successful, as we tend to use the word. Basically what you as a parent are putting your child in school for. You put your child in school because you want your child to be successful. Well, Seth Godin is a leading author and he's been writing and studying what truly brings success at the cutting edge of the economy. Remember, the economy is always evolving. Okay, the school system tends to lag behind while the economy just projects forward into the future. So school is often not the best environment to determine what your child does or does not need in terms of skills and knowledge for the workplace, for the economy. Seth Godin describes how we currently live in a connection economy, and it's the future. In the past, we had the industrial age, where giant corporations and factories wanted workers to be narrow-minded, robotic, and repetitive on the conveyor line, doing robotic processes over and over again because it was efficient during that time period. But the problem is that times are changing. We have machines that are taking over robotic human jobs more and more every day. Now, you go to your local grocery store, now there's a machine that does the whole scanning process for you. McDonald's is now getting machines that replace human beings at the cash register. So we have a changing economy. What's happening is that as technology advances, as the interests of society and the economy, which is always at the leading edge, as that changes, there is a smaller and smaller need for the same kinds of repetitive jobs that the past is known for. The 9-to-5 structured office job is deteriorating. Yeah, we still have to work many, many hours. We have to work hard. But the structure that's in place is deteriorating because nowadays, technology is replacing all those repetitive jobs, and it's giving humanity more and more room and resources and capital so that we can invest it in art, in creativity, in things that we love. And, you know, most people, of course, obviously they forget almost everything they learned in school, and the reason is because they don't have to use. So as a parent, I have a question for you. If most people forget most of the stuff they learn in school, is the point of school really about learning? Or is it about living up to someone else's standard in the form of getting a diploma and a degree in college, so that hopefully those people who set those standards, the people in governments and corporations who demand degrees and diplomas and high school diplomas, to live up to their standards, so hopefully, with your fingers crossed, they'll give you a job? What is school really about if most of us, because we all know it, most of us forget most of the stuff we learned in school, because human beings forget things that they don't need. So the question is, why is school important? Is school about your child learning so he can use that knowledge in the marketplace? Well, no, because most people forget most of the stuff they use in school because they never end up using it. So if school's not so much about learning, then what is school about? School is mostly about living up to society's general standards on what you do or do not need to get employed. That's what it's all about. The corporation won't hire you unless you have a bachelor's degree, even though 95+% of what you learn for that bachelor's degree, you're probably never going to apply when that corporation hires you. So what's the point of all this learning? Now, learning is a beautiful thing, but there's a difference between learning what's relevant and useful for you as an individual and for your children, and what you're forcing yourself to learn because someone else with more power is telling you you should learn it. So that's one component that I think you as a parent, as all parents, wherever you are, should really consider when you're thinking about what's good and what's not good for your children. Now, as I said at the start, the paradigm is changing, okay? And it's one thing for your children to go to school, but it's another thing to realize that you have to raise children who can compete, who have something to offer in an ever-changing, cutting-edge economy. And school is beginning to collapse. This is reflected in so many different components of school, and you can see it today with college. Now, I'm not sure what the situation is like for colleges in New Zealand or other parts of the world, but here in America, the college system is crumbling. It's crashing to the floor, and there's a few reasons for that, but one of the reasons is that for a while now, people have begun to realize that it's pointless to go to college. Now, not only are students in college realizing this, but even corporations are beginning to realize it. See, the internet has brought on a new age of freedom and potential. We no longer, as normal average humans, have to beg at the knees of the corporate and government interests that dictate to us that we need a diploma or we need a high school degree to get a job and feed ourselves and feed our families and make ourselves anything in this world. The internet has allowed so much freedom that a paradigm shift is happening. People are waking up mentally, and it's locally popping up everywhere, but on a whole global scale. So not only are students in college realizing that their time and the money they waste in college, you know how much debt students are piling up nowadays? There is more debt in the United States of America for student loans for college than there is credit card debt in this country. The only other industry that has surpassed the student loan debt for college in the United States is the home loan, the housing market debt. And we all know what happened to the housing market. Well, the housing bubble exploded in 2008 and the economy just almost imploded on itself. And many economists, in fact, if you click right here, you'll see an interview that I did with an economist who says that based on what he's researched and what other leading economists have researched, college is currently going through a college bubble. You had the housing bubble in 2008, we had a full-out recession, shit collapsed pretty bad. Well, now there's a college bubble on the rise, and the college bubble will one day burst too, probably within a few years, not too long, I'm sure. The college bubble is going to burst, and basically what that means is the reality is going to set in. You have a whole system of children, high school graduates, who have been told since they were in pre-K, when the kid asks the teacher, why do I have to learn this? And the teacher tells them, since their kid was in pre-K, the teacher tells them, because if you don't learn this, you're not going to get a high school degree, diploma. If you don't get your high school diploma, you're not going to get a college degree. And if you don't get a college degree, you're not going to graduate. Well, this is crumbling. Okay, college is collapsing before our eyes, and people are beginning to realize it. Both students and the corporate interests and even governmental institutions. A paradigm shift is happening. A paradigm shift is happening. And if you're not ready for that, if you don't help prepare your child for that, prepare yourself to have a child who is totally behind and out of touch with the real world. Out of touch with what is truly going to make the best possible outcome for your child in the first place. So, you know, in closing, to parents, when you were probably a child, you probably had something you really loved, like a hobby or a passion that you thought was really enjoyable, that you probably said to yourself, one day when I grow up I want to do that for the rest of my life. I would love it. And maybe your parents, when you were a kid, told you, you know what, you can't do that because you know what, you're not going to make that much money. There's not that much employment there. You're not going to be happy. You need to go do a job that's going to make you a lot of money. And maybe because you were young and because you were vulnerable, you submitted yourself to that. You submitted yourself to what your parents wanted instead of what you wanted for yourself. And you know what? The odds are your parents had a similar experience. When they were young, vibrant, happy children, they probably had aspirations for what they wanted to do, what they wanted to love, and their parents probably told them the same thing because their parents told them and their parents told them. And this is a lot of fear that's instilled in us as children. Instead of being active, vibrant, happy, connected, ready, willing, excited, young children ready to just take on the world and experience life. Make a few mistakes here and there, but in making mistakes you learn. You learn whether or not that thing you thought you loved, you just didn't really like it too much. But at least you learned whether or not you liked it or truly loved it, so you can put that part of your soul aside and say, I wasn't supposed to do that. That wasn't for me. That wasn't for me this time. And then at least you're happy inside because you tried. So as a parent, you have to realize that it sounds risky to let your child do what he or she loves. If your child wants to do something they love, if high school is too much in the way, if high school is a pain, if high school is annoying for them, if high school is 95% a waste of their time, but there's one thing that your child loves to do, that they will do morning, day, night, 5 o'clock in the morning, any time of the day, anytime they get a chance, if there's something that passionately drives them, I know that the temptation, the knee-jerk reaction is to say, oh, you know what? You're not gonna make money, that's risky, you might love it, but there's a lot of competition out there, you're not gonna make it. Instead of having that impulse, I would recommend and suggest that maybe you try an alternative approach. The school system is crumbling, okay? It is not what it used to be. The college bubble is coming. Okay, when the college bubble burst in America, it had ripple waves across the world, okay? So even if you're in another country, you may not be safe from the college bubble. People are realizing that forcing other humans to go through 13 plus years of regurgitating and memorizing what is basically a bunch of information, you're probably going to forget most of it. People are beginning to realize that not only is that cruel to the individual and what they want to do in life, but it's also pointless. It's mostly pointless to force people to learn a bunch of stuff that they're never going to use. So one of the most important things that I have to tell you as a parent is nurture and facilitate what your child loves. Don't hold your child back from what they love. And I know the impulse is, oh yeah, but what if he doesn't get a job? What if he doesn't make money in life? Well look, your child's going to love you and appreciate you more because at least when they try to do what they love, even if they fail, they learn crucial life lessons about themselves. When you go to school, okay, you get buffered from life lessons. You learn small lessons, intellectual lessons out of a textbook. You don't so much learn life lessons that teach you important truths about yourself, which give you an internal empowerment, a stronger sense of self, and more clarity, which actually helps you navigate the economy and navigate the marketplace so much better than you would if you would have just spent your whole life digging your face in a textbook. So on that note of doing what you love, when a person is doing what they truly love in life, one of the primary reasons they'll probably go off and achieve great success and become great at what they really want to do in life, one of the primary reasons that when you love something, you don't have to force yourself to do it. See, what I'm trying to explain to you right now is that, in reality, helping your child do what they love deep down passionately is actually going to be better for them. It's actually going to increase their chances of becoming something in the marketplace, of getting a job and even making money in life, okay? And I have a personal experience with this because I spent the first 22 years of my life essentially, in the system, doing things based on the schooling system, only to graduate and then find myself depressed, useless, and working at a grocery store, literally. And that's what happens to so many people because they are not doing what they love, they're doing what other people have told them to do. And if you really are concerned about your child's well-being and what's good for them, then I urge you to nurture and facilitate what they love to do. Okay? And the reason is because when you love what you do, you're more likely to achieve success in terms of money and all the things that we occupy our minds with and think is most important. A job and money and the ability to sustain yourself. Because when you love what you do, you do it effortlessly. You have to do it. Nothing holds you back from, if you have to do a boring homework assignment, your child's going to want to procrastinate. He's going to want to watch TV. He's going to distract himself because he doesn't want to do the homework. Something he loves, however, something he loves, and he will do it without effort. Now you might say as a rebuttal, well, you know what? My child loves watching TV, eating junk food, and doing nothing. Well, I would argue that the primary reason your child loves and spends so much time just eating junk food, watching TV, and doing nothing, playing video games, is because he spends so much time in school doing things he hates that when he gets out of school every day, all he wants to do is numb himself out to reality. Numb himself out to the fact that tomorrow morning he's going to have to wake up early, put on a uniform, go back to school, and repeat the same robotic process he does not enjoy. If you take that out of your child's life, and you give your child the freedom to find who he is and do what they love and experiment with life, life is naturally fun. Life is naturally exciting and free-flowing, and through that, they can make connections, have friends, be motivating, be inspiring. They can lead. They can help other people. So these are all fundamental properties that are essential for your child, and if you don't allow your child to do what they love and make mistakes and find and develop true inner personality traits as opposed to intellectual ability to memorize a bunch of subjects they're never going to use, that is so much more essential for the modern connection economy, which, as Seth Godin writes in his book, The Icarus Deception, is so important, and it's the future of the economy. If your child does what they love, they do it without even trying. It comes effortless. They just do it because they love it. They work, that means they work hard. They're working 20, 40, 50 hours a week without even thinking about it because they love doing it. So they become masters at it. And when they become masters and they love it so much and they're so internally compelled to just shoot forward into the world from within and then outward, they have no choice but to integrate themselves in society, into the economy. They have no choice but to make something of themselves because they have to express their love for life. So, to sum it up as quickly as possible, I know this is a very long video, but it's a lot to talk about. We're talking about overcoming 20, 30, 40 years of one way of looking at the world that is no longer applicable and is crumbling before our eyes. So, to sum it up, number one, school is crumbling. People are realizing that forcing people for 13 plus years to learn a bunch of stuff that most of which they're never going to use is pointless and abusive and not productive. The next point. Your child has great potential, okay? Your child has great potential, but schooling a lot of times distracts your child from your potential and encourages them to submit to a system that clearly, as it crumbles today, is not beneficial to them. The next point is, if your child does what they love instead of what they're forced to through schooling, then in doing what they love, they are more likely to achieve success because they're naturally more committed, they work harder, and they flow more easily with something they love as opposed to something they hate doing, like an assignment, a homework assignment that they dread. So these are ideas for you to consider. You know, the world is ever changing. We like to believe that we can structure and keep things stable and secure, but as they say, change is the only constant. And life tends to change, things evolve, things move forward. And as a parent, I think that if you truly want what's best for your child, you have to consider what works now. Don't consider what worked for you. Don't consider what worked 10 years ago. What works now and what will work in the future. And what works now and what works in the future is what the economy is telling us. What economic indicators are telling us today. The economy is changing. We're living in a connection economy. The old industrialist, corporatist view where workers are forced to work these robotic, slave-like jobs over and over again, that is crumbling, and we're beginning to live in a connection economy where people, one of the main resources they want is raw human energy. They want raw human energy because we are weary from the past few decades spent living in a robotic, consumer cultural, commercialized society where fakeness and living up to the standards of the system, of the corporations and government who run this whole thing, all that fakeness was honored and idolized, but no more. People want individual, raw human energy, raw authenticity. And that is the future, and school and memorizing a bunch of textbook information you'll never use is not going to develop that in your child. Sources I recommend: The Icarus Deception by Seth Godin. It's a great book, The Icarus Deception by Seth Godin. Probably the best place to start. Not only should you read it, but you should give it to your children because it will empower them to achieve greatness. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope it brought you some insights.